So what I'm doing here is I'm doing a technique that's called throwing off the hump, where you do not use the entire piece of clay for whatever it is that you're making. You basically center the top portion and throw something smaller. It's nice if you're making a whole bunch of repeated forms that are smallish. A lot of people might throw, like a Japanese potter might throw a whole bunch of tea bowls that are small off the hump. I throw my minis. If you happen to see my one video that I did where I was making miniatures, I throw the minis off the hump. So this is going to be the start of a spout. I'm probably going to do 2, because usually I don't like 1. So you can see that you throw it into a cylinder first and then you bring it in, but unfortunately I'm getting some compression marks. I had an air bubble in my wall down there I could feel, so that was not good. So that's why I'll probably end up by having to do 2 lids. Oh yeah, I don't like this one. So we'll cut this one off and I'll try another. To me, one of the things that I look for when I am throwing a spout is I want to get that internal corner of the spout to be a pretty sharp corner. When it's a sharp corner like that, I find that it will cut the flow of the tea a little bit better and it will dribble a little bit less. I'm sure there are a lot of people who make a ton of teapots who would have some opinions on that, but that's one of the things that I concentrate on. So I'm just going to make a couple of spouts until I have one that is clearly one that I like better than the others. Okay, one thing that I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to pull it and get it a little bit off center and bend it back. So I'm just trying to get a slight up, kind of an up tilt to it. So if you can imagine, this is the top of the spout, this is the bottom of the spout. It's something kind of fun to try, just a little bit different. Now you can see it's off center when I turn that. Okay, and note that I am cutting a hole all the way through the bottom. And then hopefully one of those spouts will work. And okay, now I'm going to mark this spout just to see how this will look. If I mark it and I hold the teapot behind it, I can get a sense of what the real contour of the teapot is. So this teapot has more of a rounded belly, and it would need to come out a little bit more than what I initially drew. So kind of like installing, or again installing, it's kind of like attaching a handle on a cup. I hold the handle behind the profile of the cup, just like I hold the spout behind the profile of the teapot, so I can visually see, well, what's it going to look like when I hide certain portions of it. Alright, so I'm going to hold this up, okay? You can kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about here. I wouldn't want it to be down like that. Tea would dribble out. I want it to be up high enough so the highest level of tea will not just start dribbling out. So when I have the placement that I like, I'm going to mark it. Okay, and then I am going to take my knife and I'm going to try to cut this angle on the interior of the spout to match the contour of the pot itself. I don't want to have a weird angle. I want it to mesh nice and gently there. Now, note that I am making a spout where it has a very large hole. Some potters like to make spouts where they have just holes in here like a strainer. If you want to do that, you just have to be very cautious of the glaze. Sometimes you have to put a little bit of wax over that. I do not make a strainer in my teapot because I, quite frankly, when I use loose tea, I just use a tea ball. But most of the time I use tea bags, which probably most tea enthusiasts would scoff at that. But honestly, I'm more of a coffee person anyway. Alright, so I marked my outside of where the spout's going to go, and then I trim away the hole on the inside. Now obviously you have to trim it, leaving plenty of a shoulder there to which you can attach the spout, and I'm just going to grab. So now I've got a scoring tool. I'm going to generously score both the spout and the pot because you really want this attachment to be secure. And I'm sure this goes without saying, anyone who is advanced enough to be making a teapot knows that your clay has to be really of similar or same moisture when you are attaching these, because if you have one part that is drier than the other, they will shrink and crack as they are drying. You always want things to dry together so they shrink uniformly. Now, I have 1/2 with slip on it. Both sides were scored. Okay, I hold that there and you can kind of see what I'm doing for that. Now I'm going to just gently push that inward. I like to have my finger on the inside of the pot. I want to make sure that I'm not messing up the pot. I'm not making the pot cave in or anything like that. I'm going to come in here with some slip and seal that. Okay. And on the interior, kind of hard to get a paintbrush in there, but I'm going to just take my finger and try to blend the inside of the spout as much as I possibly can. It's nice to seal that sort of stuff on the inside so you don't have, maybe places where, tea could catch and get stuck in there. I do have some loose debris in there I'll shake out. Okay, now this is one fine way that you can do a teapot spout. You can also blend it a little bit. I'm just going to grab a tool and blend. If you want to have a little bit of a smoother transition, you certainly can. I'm just going to blend this a little bit. There we go. And then after I have it blended, I'm going to go back over it with my wet brush, creating some slip, smoothing out my tool marks.